when you first log into DigitalOcean. So when you log into DigitalOcean.com, you are going to be asked for your payment. So I have to again say you have to have some sort of a payment. DigitalOcean isn't free; you have to pay for it, but it's not that costly. You can run a server for $5 per month, and that's a quite decent configuration where you can run multiple WordPress instances or sites on it.
So just to repeat the basis from people that haven't seen the DigitalOcean TikTok, this is like you can do a virtual server here on DigitalOcean. You have to pay for it. There are other alternatives there as well.
There are alternatives where you can test out things. You can have your local. You can have your computers be as a local server. You can test it out, but when you want to go public and you want to have people accessing your site, you have to choose a provider that will help you do that. So DigitalOcean is one of them. They are helping you out to create a server. So a virtual private server, as it's called, VPS. And when you log in, you get to this dashboard, and it's quite simple. You go to create, you go to droplets. Droplets is just a way DigitalOcean calls servers. We click droplets. And in this demonstration, we can go directly to the marketplace. And obviously, we are going to select WordPress. WordPress 5.8 on Ubuntu 20.04. So it will run on this environment on Ubuntu. WordPress, this latest version will run on Ubuntu. So you don't have to know a lot about this to get it running. We are just going through the details a bit. You just select Marketplace, select WordPress, go about and select. You can go ahead and go with the cheapest option of CPU. So you can select $5 per month. Data center region depends on where your clients will access the server from, or where their clients will access their server from. So we will put Frankfurt because it is the closest place to us. We could have put up Amsterdam or London also. So anywhere in Europe. The next thing that we have to choose is how we are going to access the droplet or the server. So we can use the SSH keys, or you can use the password. If you are not sure about SSH keys, you can freely use the password. You just have to type in a big password here, and you will get check here if it is good enough for you to use, because you have to keep your password safe and strong. I will use an SSH key, and we had demonstrated how to create an SSH key in the last Tech Talk. I will show it and link it later on in the comments. So I will use this pub key test that I had created in the Tech Talk. And that's pretty much it. We can select for backup. We can enable backups. We can do a lot of stuff. But let's not dive into that. Let's just create a droplet. All right. So this is the droplet that is being created right now. We have to wait for a couple of seconds. So we have the droplet here. It has this IP address. In order for us to get started, you have to click copy here. You have to copy this IP address. IP address is a unique identifier for your server. So when we go about and access this, we will just get a message from DigitalOcean saying, hey, you still need to configure a little bit here. Nothing is done here. So in order for us to get started with WordPress, we have to access this IP address using an SSH client. An SSH client is called PuttY in this demonstration. So we type in the IP address here. We have port 22, and because I used SSH key, then I have to go to this SSH, then to auth, and I have to select the private key for authentication. And this is my private key test, I called it. This is the example from before. So you can follow exactly what we did in the last example. You pick up right at this step. So we put this key into the client, and we can go back here, but we don't have to. We can go ahead and just click open.
It's like PuttY. Is that like a FTP client?
It's an SSH client.
Oh, okay.
It's an SSH client, but we could also use FTP if we want. I think that we have to just log in to the server. And that is, and in that step, we kind of confirm that we had accessed the server, and then it lets us go to the next step. But here we log in as, and I have to type in the passphrase that I had defined for the private key, and this has also been explained in the last tech talk. It says domain/subdomain name.
Oh.
So it kind of forces you to put in a domain here, but we don't have to do that. We don't have a domain for this demonstration. But if we did, we would put up, I don't know, blog. Oh, sorry. We would put up blog.46elks.com. And if we had that domain bought and we would have to integrate it into DigitalOcean, then we would just type in that domain. Mm-hmm. We will later explain how you can import, let's say in that way, a domain into DigitalOcean. So you can also do that. But we will not cover that step right now. Let's just ignore this for now. Let's just go and I had just like skipped this step, and I have entered the server using the SSH client. And then when I go to the IP address using my browser, and I select English. So we get to the wizard. Practically a step-by-step wizard guides us through the installation of WordPress. Very easy.
So this was the IP address that you just typed into your browser, and this is the first thing you get to see then when you're...
When you type in this address, you get this. So this is the first thing you see. You select your language, put it a site title. I have already practiced 46elks blog, username admin, and we have a password here, which I'm going to hide, and I'm going to type in some other stuff here. All right, and all right, I'm going to put up my email here. Cool. And just like the basic information, your email, username, password, and what would you like your site to be named? And you have to keep one thing in mind when you go about and want to reset your password. You will get an email most probably in your spam folder. Oh. Why? Rupus, would you care to explain why? Do you have an idea why?
Because it will be the server sending the password reset email, and your server is probably not trusted. At least if it's an IP address coming from DigitalOcean. Most mail servers would think, no, that's spam.
Yeah. So actually, Gmail or whatever provider you use for your emails will say, this is kind of sketchy. I'm going to put this in the spam folder. So realize that you have to check your spam folder when you click that reset password in the future, if you need that. So we have this success page. WordPress has been installed. Username is admin, and password is your chosen password. Very, very wise of WordPress not to show us our password directly here. So we type in admin, and I paste the password here. And we should also cover some security measures that you have to take when it comes to WordPress. So I would also recommend for you to change that default admin URL right away. So usually, maybe I'm a bit paranoid, but usually I change it when I install a WordPress instance on a server. Then I change that default URL. So because I've noticed that when you look at the logs, that is something that is been targeted immediately. Like they check for VP-admin. And they start to run stuff on it, or try to run stuff on it. And you can, as we shared before about security, about having fail to ban, you can also set up your fail to ban service. Fail to ban service is actually protecting you from attacks, different attacks on the web. We have a WordPress site running. If we go about and log out actually and go directly to that IP address now, we will have this hello world. So we have a site running. We can go to customize, we can change up the theme, we can install our own theme. In the next couple of tech talks, we are going to share how you can install a plugin. So there are a lot of plugins already. So not as much. So only 2 plugins available right now. But you can install plugins that will help you add functionalities to your website. I mentioned the one where I scraped another site with the plugin. You can have a plugin using 46Elks to send SMSs and stuff like that, but we are going to into that in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, spam is also an issue, obviously, here, because you get anti-spam plugin pre-installed.
You can also build your own plugins.
Yeah.
It's really easy for things that you want to like lift out as a building block for your WordPress site.
Really cool. So yeah, it's quite easy getting about and editing the page. So we go to this page. We remember this, so we can type in whatever here, and we can get started on our blog. You can customize it, you can change it up, and it's quite easy to change it, to customize it. So yeah, that's what WordPress is all about.